Okay, I'm going to show you how to diagnose and correct the problem of a reed slipping out of its socket in the reed pan. So first, this is what it's going to sound like. It's going to kind of sound rattly and loose. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, note which button it is. So this was on the pull. It's going to be the A sharp. It's on the pull. What I'm going to do is quickly take the instrument apart. You just loosen the 6 screws. I like to loosen every other screw first. And that's the same way we're going to put it back together. It's going to be every other screw. Just loosening screws here. Almost finished. That's number 5. Always keep your fingers on the side of the screwdriver so it doesn't slip off. And number 6. Alright. Okay, now you want to just lift off the end and try to keep the buttons with it. Okay, so now we're going to press down the button that had the problem, and we're going to note the hole that opens, the pad hole that opens. Okay, and lining up the instrument, I don't know if you can see this, but at the top there's an L printed on the gasket, and there's an L printed on the frame and on the reed pan. That's the top of the instrument, goes at the very point. Okay, so we're going to lay it on top of that, look for the hole, see which chamber on the reed pan that applies to find the note in question. Now, if it's a pull note, as this was, it's going to be on the side with the walls. And so we're going to be looking at this note here. If it was a push note, it's going to be on the side without the walls. So this was right here, the A sharp, and the notes are stamped on there as well. And you can see that it's a little loose. It's not sitting in properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to shim it into place so that it doesn't fall out. And there's different ways you can do this. The easiest way, the quickest way, is to take like a napkin or a paper towel and just tear off a little piece like this, stick it at the very back of the shoe on the side. You probably should trim it up a little nicer, but just for demonstration's sake, I'm going to just stick it back there. It's going to be right back where the screws are, and that's going to provide just enough friction to hold it into place. Okay, a better way, if you have this material, this is a veneer tape, and we've been including this with instruments recently. It's water activated. Cut off a small strip. You can lick it to wet it or wet it some other way. I'm going to lick it, and I'm going to stick it on the back. Same area, but it's going on the side. It's not going under it. Just like where the napkin was. I'm going to lay it on the side. I'll press it down. And you'd want to let it dry for maybe like 10 minutes, and then you can slide the reed in, and then you can trim off the excess with a knife or tear it off, and that should hold it into place. To reassemble the instrument, again, you just line up the L's. This is the left side. On the right side it would be an R. So you've got an L here, you've got L's down here and here. Place it in. There's an L printed on the gasket as well, if you have a floating gasket like this one. You kind of line them all up. Put the instrument back together. Make sure all the bolts are going through, and then hand tighten them. Make sure that each one is making contact with the threads. Once you kind of get them going, then you want to tighten up every other one, not all the way, just a little bit at first, and then you'll tighten up the remaining 3. These you can go all the way down, and then you'll come back and tighten up the 3 that you sort of just lightly tightened to begin with. I hope that makes sense. So that is how you repair a loose reed shoe.